Welcome to another new episode of BOBA Joe.
Everybody.
So what's on the menu?
Well, there's no teaser on this episode. It's straight in, no kissing, because we can see as plain.
Whoever gets the first hit and wins, Mark.
Yeah. I'm gonna hop over you because I got a faster frame rate. But
I've got a tech jump. I've got supers stored on my feet. I've got everything.
So it turns out, folks, apart from Mortal Kombat, there is actually another pretty popular fighting game franchise. Who'd have thunk it?
We're going to completely ignore the first game of the series, which I might touch on down the track of another episode for comedy effect, but otherwise we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to jump straight into the sequel on this one. But you know, folks, you've been with us now this is now our 13th episode, and we've covered plenty of sequels so far, whether that be, you know, T2, Mortal Kombat 2, Streets of Rage 2. So we're all about our sequels here, and this is definitely one of those sequels that blows the original entry out of the water. You know, I think up until now, when we've been talking about sequels, we've kind of been praising the merits of what came before and how the sequel may have built upon that, and maybe there's some things about the first entry that we prefer over the second one. I think when it comes to Street Fighter, we're probably both in agreement that the second game just completely outclasses the first game on every level.
The first one was kind of experimental, and there's such a gap in the timeline between the first and second that they're almost unrelated games and projects connected by name only. I consider them to be two entirely different games.
Yeah, I'd agree. And as someone who did not grow up playing the first game, when I finally did play it, I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I just could not get a handle of it at all. It just seemed really difficult and clunky, and maybe it probably would have been the type of thing I would have enjoyed back in the day before playing number 2, but visiting it in the modern era, oh yeah, it's a stiff arse game. It's just clunky, not easy. The button commands are funky. I don't know.
You can kill guys in 3 hits.
It's over before you know it.
So yeah, we've got a show. We're going to talk about some Street Fighter, which is quite violent, but we're up to PG-13, so we can get into some of those violent video game arcades and movie theaters now.
Yeah, don't worry, folks. There's no fatalities in this game, so we should
no fatalities.
We should be okay with the Parents Television Council.
Yeah, we're going to the Street Fighter talk, and before that, we're going to just have a little quick word from our sponsors. I'm just going to read a couple of slides out, and then we'll go on to the main show. So, are you tired of your radio guests going off topic? Introducing Guest Gaggle Guard. This electrifying device ensures your guests stay on point by gently shocking them if they stray from the topic. Keep your show on track with the Guest Gaggle Guard. Shocking interviews guaranteed. Next sponsor is the pillow. Don't suffer in silence. Get the Radio Silence Pillow. When you need to catch some Z's, but don't want to miss your favorite show, possibly BOBA Joe, or more likely something like 3PO or some other show, this pillow plays a whispered quiet live stream of your show directly into your dreams. Say goodbye to FOMO and hello, ladies, to a restful night's sleep with the radioactive pillow. And one more before we get into the show. Tired of searching for your headphones every time you want to listen to your show? Introducing radio retrievers, the miniature radio signal hunting dogs. These adorable pups are trained to find your headphones, deliver them to you with a wagging tail. Get your own today. So thanks very much to those sponsors from the world of AI, weirdness, and goodbye. And we'll get into our proper show here. Okay, so I'll read this one out, then I'll hand over to Mark for the next one. Bit of boring wars of text, but I figure there's that person out there who doesn't know something about Street Fighter, and somehow they've clicked on a random thing about YouTube, and they're like, "Come on, you jerks, tell me something about it. Don't just assume everybody knows everything." So Street Fighter 2 is or was a highly influential video game series in the fighting game genre. It was first released by Capcom in 1991, as in Street Fighter 2. We're ignoring the game that came years before it, and has since seen various iterations and adaptations. The series introduced a roster of diverse and memorable characters, each with their unique fighting styles and special moves. Players chose a character and engaged in one-on-one battles against opponents using a combination of punches, kicks, and special attacks. The series is known for its extensive character roster, including classic fighters like Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, and Guile, each with their own signature moves and personalities. Street Fighter 2 features two fighters facing off on a 2D plane or stage, battling with a combination of punches, kicks, special moves. Players must deplete their opponent's health bar to win a round. Each character has a set of unique special moves, often involving complex joysticks and button combinations. These moves add depth and strategy to the gameplay. And it sounds kind of pedantic saying this, but this was like the grandfather of just about every fighting game that came since. So you didn't have so much combinations or special moves and things that preceded this. They were very, very simplistic. So this game on a technical level was a real marvel of the era. And I'll hand over to you, Mark, for this one here.
So series has seen multiple iterations and updates, including Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2, and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Try saying that 5 times fast. These updates introduced these updates introduced new characters, balancing changes, and gameplay improvements. So on the competitive scene, Street Fighter 2 played a significant role in the development of competitive fighting games and developing the competitive fighting game community. It became a really popular choice in competitive arcades and tournaments. So the series has had a profound cultural impact, spawning numerous adaptations, including an animated series, movies, and merchandise. So overall, Street Fighter 2 series is a cornerstone of the fighting game genre, known for its diverse characters, strategic gameplay, and lasting influence on the world of gaming. And my God,
And
did it have a
shonky
lasting
overlays.
influence. Yeah, yeah. Well, look, I still, on a semi-regular basis, will pick up and play a version of Street Fighter 2. I own pretty much all the official versions in one form or another, and maybe
Is
even a couple
Feilog
of
Italian, just going by that art there? Is he Italian, or where's he actually from?
very, very difficult to judge Fei Long's nationality going
Well,
by
I
that
know Kylie
picture.
Minogue is an Aussie, so that's who she is over there. But the other guys,
Fei Long, he could he's got like a Paul Orndorff physique on him. He must have been really
he
hitting the
does, he
gym
does.
hard.
He's fairly buff for a lean kung fu man.
Yeah, these artistic interpretations are interesting to say the least.
Interest from Capcom USA. Yeah, a bit of
Old
a
USA art.
stylistic departure from the Japanese art, and I used to love seeing some of the shonky art back in the arcades and magazines, and that it became legendary. The old Mega Man NES covers and Strider. They had like a William Shatner and Star Trek type image, like swashbuckling all the terrible. That might be a fun thing to do another time. Just all bad home console cover art. There was American versions of the Japanese games. Could be a fun thing.
Definitely. Beautiful
So
logo
we've
here.
put our quarters in.
Put our quarters in, put on in our 20p coins, maybe depending on what part of the
Yeah,
world you're living in.
a
Either
few
way, if
cigarette
you're walking
burns on the
in,
cabinet.
yeah, look, if you're walking into that arcade with coins, you're not going to be walking out with any after seeing this game.
Nah, you're either spending them or someone's mugging you and taking them either way. You're not getting out of them.
Oh yeah, and it still holds that allure.
Yeah, just the
Recently,
attract
well, maybe
screen
not
and
that
the
recent.
music if I hear it.
It will still draw you over. A few years ago, I was on holiday in Amsterdam with a few friends, and we were, partaking in the sights and sounds of the city, and wandered past a cafe, and I instantly recognized the opening role of the Street Fighter 2, that classic, moment of the two guys fighting on the street before it does the intro of the logo. Of course, I ran in straight away and just used up so much coins banging away on their modded Street Fighter 2 arcade machine. So even as an adult, this game can still draw me over and get
It's
me hooked.
magnetic.
And it is magnetic. It is magnetic. I
And you
love it.
lost all your friends who went off to do more interesting things. And we said, Mark's a write off, he's gone. It's an addict.
Yeah, I was done. I was done. And that's just one of the dangers of going to Amsterdam, folks. That's what they'll always warn you about.
Yeah, the warn you about that red Street Fighter district just started, man. That's big trouble. Big trouble in Little Amsterdam.
Fantastic screen grabs here, as usual.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's from
So
someone's long play because I don't have time to long play it myself. So, if I had the time, I could sit in the emulator and do them, but I'd end up just downloading a video off YouTube where someone's got a running the arcade version, probably presumably in MAME or whatever, so it'll get the proper resolution and that sort of thing. Because I'm a bit of a nerd for that. If the image doesn't look right, I'm not happy. I want to be able to see the punches and kicks and the scores and whatever other nonsense. I want to be able to see some Chun-Li legs or Zangief getting smacked with a fireball. But yeah, a lot of the backgrounds and everyone gets their own music in the World Warrior and kind of establishes the world and setting. There's this international tournament. I don't know who's paying. Is M. Bison paying for them to fly on that screen? We're on the plane flying all around the world. Who's actually sponsoring or paying for all the travel of this? I know it's not WCW.
yeah, who's fronting the bill? And that's I'm guessing it's Bison's Shadow Lu or Shadow Law
Yeah,
organization,
it's
depending
criminal
on
network.
what region. Because I'm trying to just recall the loosely the plot, I guess, is that what Bison is like staging this tournament in order to
Yeah,
attract the most
pretty
powerful
much like
fighters
Shao
in the world.
Kahn, like it's nefarious purposes. And as a cynical adult, I think where did they get all that money? I'm like, well, it's Thailand. It's probably drug money.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They're a crime
So he
syndicate,
doesn't care. He's
folks.
probably
Read
got
between the
infinite
lines.
money. Really, he doesn't care.
Yeah. Well, the dude's got like a private army. Who knows how he's funding his various nefarious schemes. He's definitely not an above board guy, Mr. M. Bison, but I suppose we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Tell me, Johnny, how were you actually first introduced to this? Were you playing this on a console? Did you come across it in an arcade? How did you discover Street Fighter 2?
Um, it was definitely in the arcade, and my memories are vague because there's a time in my life where I was going to arcades for probably close to 20 years, possibly more. So as young as I can remember, from age 6 or 7, I'd be playing like games in local chip shop. When I was older, maybe 8 or 9, I was riding my push bike across town to arcades without adult supervision, where older kids would be smoking cigarettes, having fist fights, and stealing your quarters, and pretty ordinary. But you kind of learning to navigate that bizarre world. And in the full arcades in Christchurch City, where they had, instead of 5 machines, it would be 50 or 100 machines. One of the various arcades, like Wizards or Pennies, which is next door, and usually had kind of half broken, rundown machines that were constantly not working properly, but they were cheaper to play. One of those, I think, is probably the first time I saw one. But the actual very first time I saw it, I don't know. It might have been, I don't know. I remember going and playing World Warrior in some of the arcades, but it'd probably been out for a year or two then. It might have been Champion Edition in the local chip shop, might have been the first experience of Street Fighter. And then going into the city, they had the previous version, the new version as they carried on. So I can't pinpoint the exact first time, but I do remember the big giant sprites, the colors, the sounds, all the sounds and everything, really, especially when people playing on 2 players. And actually, I've got a memory thing. Street Fighter 2 also, the Ninja Turtles arcade game, I came in the 4-player. The first times I ever saw them, I could not even see the screen. Why? Because people are crowded around it watching other people play the game. So if you go into a arcade and see there's games nobody's playing, and then there's 1 or 2 machines that everyone's crowded around, naturally you kind of go and trying to look over their heads to see what are they playing, what's going on, and you're watching them and seeing their spectacular moves, and guys are kind of yelling and yahooing and getting into it and letting out all that natural male aggression in a good, healthy way without actually smacking each other up. Although some people did. I've seen some arcade Street Fighters with a screen that had big cracks in it where people got really angry and punched the screen when they lost. In addition to the cigarette birds. But yeah, so seeing people gather around and playing it, just watching them playing, because I'd never played. I mean, this was the granddaddy of arcade one-on-one fighting games, so it's I had no previous experience, so getting to play it. What happens when you're brave enough to put the coin in and probably sit there shaking and sweating the first time, and I'm going to lose on the first character, just like Mortal Kombat. But you watch other people play and pick up some of their tricks and learn how to do the moves, learn the tactics for each individual character. But all the memories kind of blend together.
Which is understandable considering, how many iterations there's actually been of the game. Like, even I struggle to definitively say what was the very first version I played. Like, I think it was the Champion Edition, but that could be just my memory playing tricks on me. I do recall where I first actually saw the cabinet, though. It wasn't even in the local arcade, because I would have been too young to be going in at that point anyway. It was actually when I went to Dublin Airport. My parents and I went there. We were picking up my brother who was returning from abroad, and they had a few arcade machines lined up near the arrivals section, and Street Fighter 2 was one of the ones. So I got some brief exposure to it there, and then maybe about a year and a half later, my good friend, childhood friend, who's still one of my best mates, Michael, his cousin actually loaned him a Sega Mega Drive version of Champion Edition, and the two of us just used to play the hell out of that. Now, I was always kind of at a disadvantage because it wasn't my game, and he always just had that extra bit of time to learn moves and things that I was kind of struggling to catch up on. So my first kind of few months of playing Street Fighter 2 was really just getting my ass handed to me by someone who was just more experienced and better at playing
Real
a game.
sink.
But it's kind of like, it's a learning curve though as well, because each time you figure out just something more. Like, I remember in my naivety thinking that if I can just work out how to throw those fireballs, that's all I'll need. All I'll need to know is how to do that,
Yeah.
and then I'll just keep doing them, and I'll never even have to punch or kick. Because before you understand the mechanics of how everything works, everything's so new, and you just think, wow, if only I could do that big flame thing and end the match like he just did to me.
It's such a technical learning curve to go from, like, well, we're playing arcade games, or maybe you've got a home Commodore 64, Master System, Mega Drive, Genesis, and you press a button, you mash a button, or you hold a button, release a button. That's the tactics when you're playing them. Street Fighter, now we're doing these quarter circles and forward down diagonal Dragon Punch and 360 Zangief throw. It's a whole new, like, neuro learning thing for your brain, the mechanics of your hands, for your whole nervous system, to learn all this shit. And when you first do it, it's like a baby learning to walk. You just suck at it. You can't do it. You're not getting blisters on your hands trying to do fireballs.
Yeah, it took me a little while to grasp the art of literally being able to roll your thumb around the D-pad as opposed
Mm,
to hitting the directions individually, because
yeah.
I think up until that point that had always been my mindset. Like, especially in a fighting game or any type of game that you have to punch or kick, it was quick succession of just hitting the buttons and moving the directions. Whereas with Street Fighter, I don't know, you almost had to, like I said, roll your thumb into the next movement to get a
Mm,
kind of flow, and then you could just release your Hadouken or your Yoga
yeah.
Flame or whatever it is you were
There was always
you were
tricks to
storing
the
up in there.
inputs, and I was very fortunate to have friends. I mean, I got to play in the arcade, but years later, I made friends, and we used to go home and play the home console versions of like Turbo, Hyper on Super Nintendo and Mega Drive, and playing with them for like probably a good 8 years, every kind of fighting game imaginable. I got to learn all their tricks, and they were much better at fighting games than me. So I got to learn how they did stuff. And there was always little tricks around the inputs that work better on the D-pad controller or that work better on arcade. There's the actual official move input, but some moves, there's a certain groove, and you learn what the groove is, and you can do it much more smoothly and under pressure and not get horrible blisters on your hands. Like the time I rented Turbo on Mega Drive for the first time, just even doing the roll with Blanca, charging it, I end up callousing and ripping up my hand really bad just playing it 2 days non-stop with a mate one weekend when we rented it.
Yeah, you always know it's been a pretty intense session with the Sega when you've got letters engraved in your thumbs and fingers.
Yeah. It was
I
painful. I
used to
remember
always
going
have
to
the
school the next
beep
day,
up.
my hands were like hamburger.
Yeah, for a while it felt like I had the permanent letter B on my thumb from constantly hitting that middle button on the Sega pad, or holding it down. But
Oh, and the bloody
I
3-button one before they had the 6-button one.
yeah, and that was
Tricky.
really tough playing Street Fighter, because you until, like, I didn't actually have the 6-button or access to a 6-button controller initially, so you're kind of essentially missing out on commands. You're
Yeah.
you're kind of half fighting your way. The only I suppose the only positive thing I can say about that is the person I was playing against was also using a 3-button situation, so it's not like one person had a major
Mhm.
advantage over the other in that respect, even if there was a bit of a gap in experience level when it came to playing the game. Because I suppose, and I know we kind of always sound like a couple of old fogies when we talk about these things, it's not like
Oh, Pokemon, dude.
it's not like the 3D fighters like, Tekken or Soul Calibur or those type of games where you can pick up and play it pretty quickly, but you're going to get beat and you're going to get exposed pretty quickly if you're a
Yeah.
novice
You
compared
can mash
to
buttons in a
some
3D
modern
game
fighting
better
games.
than a 2D game.
Exactly, exactly. You can get away with a lot more in a modern 3D game than you could with these type of 2D fighting games, because, like, at the end of the day, they were just designed to eat your money. That was like the initial kind of premise. Just you
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
keep on putting coins in that machine. And I think that, though, it is part of the allure, because when you're playing games like this for the first time, it's like the game just gives you enough to make you hungrier to progress before it will beat
Yeah.
you. And then you just, that's how they get you. That's how you're hooked. You're just like, give me another coin. I'm going to take another crack at
The
this
first
fucker.
time you
And
get up to the final 4 boss guys, that's like an achievement, man. Like when you actually get up there on one credit and like, oh man, didn't continue, got up to these final 4 guys, but then they're going to just wipe the floor with you. It's a whole other thing
yeah.
trying to beat the bosses. Like 4 bosses is me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's not fair, especially especially your first time around when you've just kind of cleared through the initial stages of fighters, and you're just like, because as we'll get to, I'm sure, like, this game, it uses a lot of programming trickery to get the better of you at times, and
Yeah.
the CPU will do some pretty dirty stuff,
Oh yeah.
to win them in the match. So
It's a lot
when you're
fairer
kind of
than Mortal
playing.
Kombat though.
It is a lot fairer than Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat it felt like it was just out to ruin your day sometimes. At
Well,
least
I
Street
think I
Fighter
think
was
a
kind
lot
of
of the
keeping it
cheap stuff in
competitive.
Mortal Kombat was a lack of American programming experience in making one-on-one fighting games. That to me, but they got better as they went on as well.
No, it's even just looking at these captures here,
Bonus stage.
it's so impressive though in terms of its actual just physical design. Like each environment is really unique and it fits perfectly for each character. And I just love
Yeah,
how each stage um is so unique to each individual character. So to the point is you could hear a piece of music. Like you could play any piece of music from a stage in this game and I'd know instantly what
yeah.
character stage
Or
that is.
Vader
You
in
could
Spain,
probably
or
show
Sagat in
me
Thailand.
yeah, and you could show me like a random sprite and I just know, oh look, that's that box from Guile's stage or whatever. You just kind of it becomes so ingrained in your mind when you're playing the game, and everything's so colorful. The sprites are just beautiful. It just really, really stands out, and I think like stylistically, it's just a beautiful looking game.
Oh, that was one of the big things about all the colors, the giant sprites, the giant character art was just phenomenal because it's so much bigger than things that have come beforehand. We used to see much smaller characters on the screen. So seeing these giant sized guys and the colors and the animations is just like jaw dropping. And a bit of a confession here: I never saw as a kid Top Gun, or even I don't think I saw it for the first time after the year 2000. So I had no idea the whole Guile stage and theme music was riffing on Top Gun.
Oh yeah, big time, and like even just the whole like. So there's Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer chilling on a couple of crates in the background anyway. So, but
I kind of want to see a Top Gun where Guy was the main character now. I'll watch that. I like that better.
yeah, especially with that like blonde brush hairstyle of his. I always
Yeah, the
kind of
crazy brush
thought
head
that was
hair.
funny. The GI Joe figure of Guile, you could literally stand him on his head because
Could you
the brush the brush hair was just like a solid mass.
just use them to sweep the dust off your other toys?
But
But yeah, awesome
like
presentation and sprites, and just like the kind of raw physicality of just smacking up the other player or the CPU, and then the bonus stages were good fun too. Just get into like destroy the barrels or the car. The bonus stages were great fun as well.
the bonus stages added just a great dimension as well as like an extra kind of playable, just a kind of playable feature. I just used to love. It was almost like a way to let off
Like a
steam because
de-stress
obviously,
break.
yeah, it's like I'm just gonna like I'm after struggling my way to get past these last few guys. Now I'm going to just bust up some barrels or some
Yeah,
boxes or some poor
bare
guy's
hands.
car. I always thought it was funny. Years later when I was
In Final
playing
Fight.
Final Fight because I didn't realize once again that like that it was the same. Obviously, like Final Fight was initially going to be Street Fighter 2, and they oddly kept one or two elements.
Yeah,
But I always think it's funny when you bust up the car in Final
it's like,
Fight.
oh, my
You
car.
actually, yeah, the owner of the car comes and is
Comes running in.
freaking out.
Just some goon from the Mad Gear gang. What?
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Do you have like a special or like a favorite stage or
Maybe I mean, probably my favorite character in the first game Well, when I played the game, I tend to choose Ken because he's kind of easy if you're a beginner to play with. He's kind of overpowered. But as far as not playing the game, but characters and settings, like Blanca was my favorite back then, and later on Zangief. So Blanca and Zangief I love, and the look of Blanca and his kind of funky jungle music background, which is set in Brazil. That was probably my favorite background. And yeah, you have the big giant fish and that funky kind of drum rhythm music. But I like Sagat's stage a lot too because it's got the big statue, which I forget which of the various Buddhas there is because there's so many. There's like 1,000 different Buddhas, man, and the statues and whatever. But I'm fairly confident it's based on an actual statue you can look up.
Yeah, like an actual. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think it's
Because they've got
based
some
on
real
a.
giant Buddha statues in Asia.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, my two favorite stages were Giles and Ken's. Not even so much
Yeah.
for the actual setting, but both of them just have real awesome theme music, which,
Yes.
like you were saying earlier, it's very reminiscent of Top Gun, not just the setting, but even that kind of style of
Mighty
guitar
Wings,
music
I
that's
think they
kind of
call
playing.
the guy one.
That's right. That's right. Like yeah, both Guile and Ken's stage just scream like USA, and it's just that type of feeling. And that's the thing about this game. They really, really nailed it when it came to the music of just making it feel like you were in that place. Like there is a maybe there's somewhat stereotyping going on here, I guess, but it sounded like India when you were playing in Dalcium stage. It sounded like
I did.
Brazil when
I
you were
don't think
playing
it's
in Blanca
stereotyped.
stage.
Like I lived in the house for 2 years and share. I was with some guys from India. I mean, there were migrants who had recently come over. I heard a lot of bloody traditional Indian music that I didn't particularly want to hear. And no, I think the music's fairly authentic as far as what they researched for the stages and the backgrounds. I don't think it was trying to be um, too stereotypical. I think it was like reasonably like world music. If you want to look up your world music international stations or whatever, you're going to hear similar sounding sounds. Did you
You
ever get
must
to
have been
Shing Long?
Shanglong.
Did you find
I
him? I could
always
never
wondered.
get him, man.
I never had a clue what the hell he was talking about or
I
who
was
he
trying
was
to
talking
fight
about
him and
there.
Ermac on like a tag team combo.
It's funny, as kind of Street Fighter media and stuff has progressed through the years, and we kind of have these characters more defined. It's funny now reading some of these victory quotes at the end of Street Fighter 2 rounds because they don't really sound anything like what you'd expect that character to say. Like I don't think Ryu would even mention something like this in a victory kind of talk or whatever. And Ken's got his "I will crush you" and stuff. It's just like this guy doesn't talk like that. He'll just give you the thumbs up and walk away.
That's it.
I always love though seeing the kind of the battered version of your opponent as well, all bloodied up. And when the tables
Yeah,
were
those I love
turned,
those
you'd
character
often.
profiles.
Oh yeah, they look brilliant. They look brilliant. I love even as well when you take a beating and it's on the continue screen and it shows your character sprite all beat up and stuff. But if you get your coin in or if you hit start just in time, he'll pop up again and he's all good to go and ready for another round.
Okay,
It's
I'll go on to
iconic
the
these
next one.
these
Yeah.
these screens.
Yeah, I love seeing you'd see you fly all around the world on the traveling by map and you'd see like who you're versing next, the intro profile, and then when you beat them you get to see the beaten up profile. And some of them were like quite bloody, like Cigar. He's got bruises and blood. His eyes got swelling because his good eye is like pretty much swollen closed. So it's quite brutal.
Big man here himself, Mr. M. Bison.
Yeah. And they did the old name swap, of course, to avoid any potential legal trouble with the old Mike Tyson.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, let me see if I can get this right. Was
Vega,
Bison
Bison.
Sagat? Oh, Bison was Vega. Bison was Vega.
Yeah,
And yeah,
in Japan.
sorry, yeah, Bison. Balrog was originally called Bison, isn't that right? Bison, and that's what they did to avoid the legal dispute with Mike Tyson, because it was so obvious. A
Yes,
boxer called Bison, and there's
and
a real
Bison.
world boxer called Mike Tyson. Yeah,
And
it
his
is there
profile
again.
and look is based on Tyson too. When you look at the look of his face on the character thing.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can see it was probably a clever thing to do. Am I
Mm.
correct in saying though that in Japan the names remain unchanged?
Well, in Japan, the boss character is called Vega, and the boxer is called M Bison. And you do see
Right.
later on in like Street Fighter Zero series, kind of some of the in the West they tend to keep the same naming convention. But I've played a lot of the Japanese versions of the later games, so I got used to seeing the normal names again, where this guy's Vega and um, the other guy's Bison. But so the only time I do tend to think of Bison as the boss guy is more in animations and comics now. I mean, we're used to that guy being the definitive M Bison outside of the games.
He's quite the foe to encounter, especially the first time
Yeah,
around as an end of level or an
he'll
end of
cheese
game
you up.
boss. Oh, big time, big time.
No
That
charge,
psycho
scissor kicks
crusher,
all day.
no charge, scissor kicks, that low sweep, the psycho crusher kind of
Yeah,
spinny fire thing or whatever. Yeah, he'll kick your arse from Monday to Sunday. Will Bison, but
and
it's
I love how
just
he throws the cape off in the opening scene. He stands and then he swoops that cape off. It's such a cool animation.
it's really dramatic, and it really adds to the epicness of what's about to go down. And it's just it's really it's quite well thought out, this game. I have to say, in how it works.
The
So
presentation's through the roof.
oh, big time, big time. But even just the structure of playing against the other, I suppose, for want of a better term, normal playable characters before hitting
Hmm.
this final run of bosses, it's just a real gauntlet of endurance. Um,
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember, is the order Vega, Balrog, Sagat, Bison? Isn't that the way you play it? You go through them
I think
in
it's
that
it's
order.
Balrog first. I think actually.
Balrog,
I'm, I'm going to get mixed up too
Balrog,
because I'm
Vega,
sitting there
Sagat.
thinking it says why.
Yeah, it's the names. It's the name. But
If you hadn't asked
yeah,
me,
but
I'd
anyway,
just get it. But when I stop and think, of like, hang on, wait. But you're Balrog first in the Vegas,
yeah, yeah. The point is,
and then
you're running
Cigar.
this
I,
gauntlet.
I'm gonna sit here and cheat and
It's
Google
going to
the
wreck your
order
head
now to find,
otherwise. You need to know. You
just to
need to
like
know.
satisfy my nerd curiosity because even though I played it like a million bloody times, and I think, well, my mind is this order, but I'll bet I'll remember it incorrectly or something.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of it's something that was emulated by other fighting games as well, where you're not just fighting one end of game guy. You have to get
Yeah,
through his
you saw the
cronies or
two
his
bosses.
henchmen
You
first.
Goro and old Shang Tsung with his rusty rickety boat, or Kentaro or Motaro than Shao Kahn. And a lot of other Japanese games still would have two bosses, like your Art of Fighting, King of Fighters, Fatal Fury. You would have like two bosses, but the four bosses, man, just oh god, it's grueling, and they're such tough bastards.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're definitely all designed to drain your coin purse, so to speak.
Yeah,
If you're playing this in an arcade, I feel sorry for you if it's your early kind of foray into it. But well done for getting this far, I suppose. I was kind of lucky in the sense that the console availability was such at the time I was getting into this I wasn't reliant on having to play it in an arcade, because I wouldn't have gotten a sniff at probably these bosses because I just wouldn't have been in a position to afford to get good at the game. I just wouldn't have had that many coins on me. So it was great to have like a Sega home version of this where you could practice. And boy, did I practice.
Okay, so the proper order of the bosses, and I've hadn't thought about, if I just reeled it off, I would have gone, but because I stopped and thought about it, I start mixing it up in my head. It's Balrog, then Vega, then Sagat, then Bison. So Balrog is the boxer, Vega is the Spanish fighter with the like the cage background. Sagat is the big Thai kickboxer who's like apparently partly based on a real life actual fighter, but he seems to be a mix of that guy, but also kind of Tong Po from that Jean-Claude movie because he's ginormously large, and most Thai people are fairly average or shorter. I think they combined several characters to get Sagat, and then you get M. Bison, the dictator, at the end, who's big boss man, but he's also staging a tournament. He's a professional criminal, and there's a lot of shenanigans behind the scenes into the Street Fighter lore as the series goes on about what he's really doing. And the longer the series goes on, the more people's lives he mucks up, and he's like a big cartel type boss who's just despicable and horrible in every way.
And that's probably a good segue to mention, folks, that if you're thinking we're kind of focusing primarily a lot on the game design and structure and whatnot over the lore, we will be having a chat about this lore in great detail with our good friend Badger. And sometime in the near future, the three of us are going to get together and we're going to do a deep dive into the Street Fighter kind of media franchise around the games
the lore
as well.
And the media, toys.
So do not despair. Do not despair. If you're craving that lore, we're going to bring it to you. But at this point of time, when we're looking at it from the point of view, we're playing this game kind of for the first time. We don't really know the ins and outs. Like Johnny was saying, you get this kind of basic bare bones story of the tournament and these world warriors being called to fight. So a lot of the stuff you're just either kind of making up in your own head or you won't know about
a lot of
until you
imagination,
actually
rumors.
watch. Rumors and maybe little extracts of biographies written in gaming magazines. You just kind of pick up scraps of information here and there. But Bison, he's like we were saying, he is a formidable foe and a worthy adversary for a final boss in any fighting game. Which I think is the reason why they brought him back a few times. I know they've tried other end of level bosses. I don't think they've ever quite beaten Bison as that kind of last.
Like Street Fighter 03, he's back, and then by the time we get to Street Fighter 4, they're kind of rotating, and then Street Fighter 3 and 4, they're kind of rotating to different characters, but he's still part of the overall lore, and he turns up and fights in various games, and still around.
Am I right in saying we mentioned obviously Sagat as well? Is Sagat the final boss in the first game?
Absolutely, because in the story,
final fighter.
He's the final boss, and Ryu does the dragon punch, which is how he gets the big scar on his chest, and that's why he has the grudge against Ryu, because he's done it's like ripped his chest open doing the dragon punch. It's like the official ending of Street Fighter 1, and he has all the stitches and scars, and he has this big rivalry with Ryu. Ryu has red hair for no particular reason in the first game, which is a bit strange.
No, he does have a reason. He has red hair because he was born with beautiful red hair, like me. That's the reason he has it.
Red hair.
And he must have suffered some
as
tragic...
a player character in the first game. He's just a palette swap. He's not really a character.
That's right. And in my ignorance, I actually had played through the first game a couple of times before I even realized Ken was in the game, because he is only selectable.
I did get to play an arcade version of it at a chip shop, but after number 2 was out. But I got to play after school for several months until I actually finished it. And it wasn't great, but I still have pretty strong memories of the characters. And when Birdie turned up in Street Fighter Alpha/0, I went, hang on, he's from the old original game. He's that English punk guy.
These guys.
And
that's right.
The other guy with the bloody Tonfa baton sticks that turns up in Capcom versus SNK. There's like blonde hair and wearing overalls. I forget his name, but he was in Street Fighter 1 as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a few Street Fighter 1 / Final Fight characters will kind of appear and reappear multiple times
I love
throughout
when they do that shit.
series. Yes, see, me too.
Well,
I just like that
we're
kind of
gonna
depth.
we're going to talk about the updates they did to Street Fighter 2 or / new game, but building on the same assets, but making a more balanced game and characters and revisions to move sets and speeds and whatnot. So we're going to talk about Champion Edition / Turbo / Hyper, depending on if you're in the arcade or home consoles. And after that, we'll get into the new challenges, as Mark's favorite. But before that, we're going to do a little intermission here, a little pause, a little brief break, and we'll be back in a minute. And we're back.
So what do we got here? We got a pair of different versions of Street Fighter 2.
3 versions. Well, we've got arcade, we've got Super Nintendo, we've got Mega Drive, or Genesis. Does what Nintendo doesn't.
Yeah, I'm looking at this cover of Special Champion Edition for the Mega Drive. I'm pretty sure that's the one that I would eventually end up physically owning.
I've still got
as
that
opposed
exact
to
one
usually.
today.
Brilliant, brilliant.
That's not a photo of my one, but I have that exact same one with that same art on the Mega Drive back out in the sleep out at the back, and that's the one. Like I played a lot of the arcade ones, but that version as well. Actually, both of these I played equal. I played Super Nintendo at my friend's house, Mega Drive at home. These 2 versions I played the most of any Street Fighter, other than, well, I had Street Fighter 02 on Sega Saturn. Later on, I had Street Fighter 03 on PlayStation. So those 3 were the games I played the most of overall of the whole series.
It's a beautiful cover for that Champion Edition as well. I just always
Especially
like
for
that image
American
of Ryu.
type art release, we get all those crappy covers and redrawn art. To actually get some decent art for a change. I never liked the Super Nintendo one because the art itself is fine, but it's cropped and it's tiny and small. And why is it randomly E Honda and Cigar? It's just like it's not very. It feels like it's there for contractual reasons and not really, whatever the agreements were for publishing and who was doing what and what format. Because these were the big 2, but this was on Amiga. This was on other home consoles and computers and other stuff and fairly horrible versions and PC and whatnot. But why the Mega Drive got such a great cover, and the Japanese covers, you look up them up, are fantastic as usual. Why the Super Nintendo got the crappy cover art, I don't know. Usually Super Nintendo had good boxes and good art.
Yeah, like you said, it must have been some type of contractual thing, and maybe there had to be some type of exclusivity in terms of branding, possibly between Nintendo
releases,
and Sega.
Xbox versus PlayStation.
But I do know initially, Nintendo had things quite well sewn up with Capcom. Sega had to do a lot of
They were like
finagling
the big
to
Capcom
actually.
buddy, them and Square stuff.
Oh, big time. Sega pretty much had to do some pretty tough negotiating in order to get Capcom on board. Yeah, with Street Fighter 2 being released on their console, because Nintendo were willing to fight tooth and claw for it to remain exclusive to their platform, which thank God they were not successful in achieving, because
that would have been
I probably
terrible,
would have
man.
never played it. Oh, it would have been awful. It would have been awful.
Well, the Super Nintendo version is the better overall conversion in terms of like the graphics, and particularly the sound is much nicer from the Super Nintendo, because Super Nintendo favors more orchestral music with its chipset and music stuff, whereas the Mega Drive is better at doing synth and electronica type sounds, Streets of Rage style. But most people that the program or developed for it Didn't know that, so a lot of the Mega Drive games sound pretty bloody awful, like ear bleeding sounds you don't want to listen to. But both games were actually fantastic home conversions, no matter which version you got. You did notice the kind of washed out colors in the Mega Drive one, and the sound was a bit, but the gameplay and the balance of it was fantastic, and the inputs for the moves were fantastic on both versions.
Definitely, definitely, and it made the most of the 16-bit technology, for want of a better word,
Oh yeah,
because
and very impressive conversions, because you're missing frames of animation, you're missing colors and minor detail from the background. You're not going to notice on your bloody CRT compared to a larger arcade game screen anyway.
my little
So these
my
were like just
14
killer
inch.
apps, man.
Oh, big
Yeah,
time,
14
big
inch,
time.
14 inches of pain.
Yeah, yeah. It's not going
Like
to.
I, I,
It's not going to
I think it was
distinguish
this and
between.
like Doom on PC, man, were just like the killer apps. These were just like, yeah.
And it's hard to. It's kind of almost hard to verbalize just what how visually impressive this was. It's like when we spoke about Streets of Rage 2 last week. When you are kind of immersed in the current kind of form of gaming where everything is like 3D animation and 3D environments, this stuff might appear somewhat primitive, but I really do have to reiterate, back in the day playing these games for the first time, everything made a difference. Even if it was just a little sprite man going like this in the background, doing the same same movement, it added a layer of realism and just something visual for your eyes to lock onto that was outside of just the two fighters doing battle
Yeah.
on screen. And whether it's like the Chung Li China level, or like you mentioned earlier on with Blanca's level, each stage is so unique and presents itself in such a way that makes it so memorable. Your eyes are just drawn to it all, and that's why I think with Street Fighter there was a lot of replayable value, because you weren't just going back to it to beat the game. You're kind of going back to it actually to see those levels again and to hear that music again and see those sprites, because it was just so visually impressive, and also audially, if that's a word, impressive as well. Like, it's really pleasing to the ears hearing all these different stage themes, and even just the sound effects of the actual punches and kicks connecting. There's a real kind of like 70s kung fu movie soundboard vibe going on. So anytime like a punch or a kick lands on your opponent, it's that proper dunk sound effect. But it really is. It's so rich, and like you're saying, the console conversion. We can sit here, as adults and kind of pick apart frame rates and color palettes and stuff. But as a kid, it felt like the arcade was kind of brought home to you. You thought you were like experiencing the game in its finest form, before you could really kind of compare and contrast the differences. And I suppose now, knowing the limitations of what the actual hardware was, it's even more impressive seeing how much kind of life and how much energy they got out of working on those, not only like the graphics card but the soundboard. Like, they really pushed it. And you are correct in saying that the Nintendo soundtrack was just better. It just came across better. Their hardware was obviously just more suited to putting out that type of theme music. But the Sega one, it's nothing to sniff at either. The themes are still very memorable, just maybe not as crisp and as sweet sounding as those found on the Nintendo version.
Yeah, the SNES was just bit of orchestral and instrument samples, whereas Mega Drive favored the electronica stuff. Um, and also just the sort of colors, the graphics, the large sprites were turned out very nicely on both versions. And it's the kind of thing you would see like on the Amiga with like these beautiful colors and chunky sprites, but we're seeing this on a home console because the arcades back then were the home of the new technology, the killer apps. Home video game consoles would have pared down ports or reimagined ports like NES on Double Dragon style. And it was many years before consoles caught up to the technology of the arcades. It was always pushing the technology, the Tekken, the Virtua Fighter, and Street Fighter. And we got to the PlayStation era, which got a very good conversion actually of Street Fighter 2 and the Champion Edition. I think it was a Japanese exclusive. I don't know if it came out anywhere else. But it was one of the first relatively arcade perfect versions. But even the PlayStation versions of the Street Fighter Zero series were missing a lot of frames of animation. Loading wasn't great. Sega Saturn versions were better. It wasn't really until the Dreamcast era, post year 2000, you started getting truly arcade faithful ports as standard of games that had come out 5 or 10 years earlier. We got reasonable ports on 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit, Mega Drive, SNES, PlayStation, N64 games, but most of them had to be kind of reimagined. But the core thing of both of these two, what makes them so great, is the gameplay was intact. Even if it's missing some colors and animations, the gameplay was just there all the way and made it just so playable, so much fun to play at home, especially on 2 players. You've got a mate and a second controller to sit there and play on a rainy weekend, man. You wouldn't leave the house. You just sit there playing Street Fighter all day.
Yeah, hours and hours and hours of time spent, and skin worn away on your thumbs and fingers from hitting those combos and hitting those buttons hard.
Wearing that
It
skin
was
away. You've got a second or third layer. It's all right. You'll grow it back.
almost addictive as these cigarettes we see here on
Oh
screen.
yeah, man. These cigarettes, they were always just melting the you know, you get the arcade games where at CRT, a cathode ray tube for your pre-HD generation for TVs and all that shit. Little raster graphics and grid lines and such on the screen. But always, man, just someone's put their bloody cigarette out on the side of the screen, and the screen would be recessed in the cab, and you have an overlay, which I have to assume was Perspex or some type of plastic. I can't say, but I assume it was that, because it would melt, and you'd see this circle, this dirty circle where someone's put their cigarette out on the bloody game.
That must have been like a universal deal for arcades across the world, because I can remember similar situations, as you mentioned earlier, with the cracked screen from people who obviously lost their shit and then just
There was a
punched the
guy at my
screen.
local
But
chip shop
also,
who used to punch the screen all the time.
but yeah,
He
all
was known
the
for it.
side of the cabinet with stubbed out,
He didn't punch
mag
any
buttons.
people, just the screen.
Yeah, he just couldn't handle it. The
Man,
game got to him.
he'd
He
lose.
got to.
He smashed the Street Fighter. He smashed the Golden Axe. There was one called, I think it was called Slapshot, like a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up, and he smashed it. He was very good at it, and he'd be, I don't know, he probably has some kind of issue going on mental health wise or something, because he would be really good and calm, and then just be like bang, and he'd slam his fist. I'd seen him do it when I was there and actually crack the screen.
Now you got to get that anger out. He was just sick of getting those cheap ass bison sliding
Yeah,
kicks hitting him all the time. He
that's it.
just lost his head. What is this main image taken from, with all the
Oh,
characters and
this is an
their moves?
overlay. This is some more horrendous American art, but this is from Capcom USA. This is one of the overlays. Depending on what territory you're in, you've got US, Japan, UK, Australia, New Zealand. You would get different overlays, different colors that would be on the front of the machine or the side of the machine. Sometimes there was nothing, and you're just, because they reskin arcade cams all the time, especially Jammer style. We're just switching out a board or a chipset or an update. And sometimes you'd be playing an old game. It might have fucking Double Dragon overlay on there, but you're playing Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat and you're playing a bloody shoot 'em up game, or you get mishmashes where they changed over stickers. So it's a big sticker that you would slap onto the arcade machine itself. So you might reskin an existing machine, or if you had an original machine, it would fit better. But there was a whole lot of these different overlays for arcade games back then, and depending on what territory you lived in the world, you might have slightly different layouts, slightly different artwork, but some of them were aimed at teaching you some special moves or stuff about the game. I never saw any of these back then. I saw occasionally on the very top of the machine, it might say Street Fighter or Champion, and that was about it. And you were left to figure out the moves in your own time. I never saw this one back then, but it is from the 90s, was that horrendously bad artwork.
Yeah, Blanca looks hilarious.
He's got red
He's not
hair.
even
He's
green.
got an Irish man. I want a blank Irish blanket figure now. Look at it. Because they didn't have that color in the games, even in the later Super and that, where they had like 6 or 8 colors per character. He didn't quite have that one.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, it's good fun.
Guile was the only character they really nailed in that bit of artwork.
Well, it looks okay. Maybe Balrog's okay.
Yeah, Balrog not
Bison's got some kind of inflammation or swelling going on in his pectorals and biceps there. But yeah, that's quite strange. I love seeing this old vintage art, because the poor it's such a strange thing of its era and time, where the Japanese would do the manga style art for their games, and it would look fantastic all day long. And for some reason in America, whether it was Capcom or Sega or Nintendo, it's like, well, we've got to do our American version up for the American audience. And it would look dog shit, because they farmed it out to some guy who knew nothing about the game, would say the minimal information, just like draw this thing. And someone who's used to doing traditional fantasy art or American, Conan or Lord of the Rings, doing these like anime characters. And it's hilariously bad. But okay, we'll move on to the actual game itself. So we had Street Fighter 2 Turbo / Hyper Fighting / Champion Edition. We added in the 4 boss characters that we were getting beat. They beat the hell out of us all day long in World Warrior. But now we can choose these 4 characters. And seeing this screen here too, with the old Balrog / M. Bison, you can see that's based on Mike Tyson, just even in that little 16-bit face. And in addition to this, we can now choose on 2 players the same character. In World Warrior, you could not choose the same character. And every character in the game gets a secondary color for the 2 player side. So if you both want to be Ken or both want to be Sagat, you get an alternate color, so you know who the heck's actually fighting on screen. And we got a couple of balance changes and some of the animations and hits. They refined the unintentional combos from World Warrior, where you could jump in, do a jumping in hard or fierce kick, standing medium punch into a fierce dragon punch like Ryoken, or jumping in fierce kick, crouching medium kick into a fireball. Were completely unintentional combos people found out from playing the game. They're a bit more balanced in the Champion and Hyper, where they don't do, it's still a combo, but it doesn't do as much damage. In the original World Warrior, you could do with Ken a combo that would basically dizzy them, and you'd pause, do another combo that would dizzy them again, and then they're dead. Basically 100% combo that you couldn't get out of. So they balanced out stuff like that. They added in a couple little different frames of animations and hits and like move variations for Champion and Hyper / Turbo. And we had Champion and Arcade out of the boss characters, still quite, if you go back to it, it's still quite slow. The next revision, Hyper Fighting, upped the speeds to just an insane level, where it's so fast you struggle to keep up with what's going on. But if I play it now, I actually really like the increased speed. And they added in Hyper Fighting air moves. You could do the like the Hurricane Kick, or what do they call it? The Tatsu, whatever it is. You could do that in the air. There was a few other air moves. You had a vertical roll with Blanca. Zangief had 2 versions of the spinning lariat, the punch version and the kick version, that was slightly different speeds, and you could kind of slightly move across the screen.
Yeah, it's quite the leap when you play Hyper Fighting for the first time. Like, one thing to me, as a kid, it felt like the matches were nearly over before you knew it.
Yeah,
Everything just
it's
moved
like
so
caveman
fast.
discovering fire.
Oh, big time. And even wasn't I think that was the game where they introduced as well, where the actual speed of the music would go faster
Yeah, the
once
speed
you
of the
got
music would go crazy
to,
fast as well.
and you always kind of felt the pressure. It's like I gotta finish it, gotta KO,
Yes,
gotta end this now. Once that music sped up, you knew somebody was going down. But it was
and it had a lot of
I
bootleg
think I'm of a
versions of this game as
similar.
well.
Oh, big, yeah, so many, so many. I think
Like Street Fighter Rainbow Edition was the most famous one.
yes, was it the Rainbow Edition that's kind of almost the reason why we have hyper fighting? Did it
Well,
come
hyper
before
fighting
or
is well, there was, I think you're right. There was a bit of a mix up. Well, mix up's the wrong word. There was a bit of some kind of engineering going on. I don't know the full history of this. I know from back in the arcade, seeing and playing the illegally modded versions back then, and there were early versions of like Street Fighter 2 where they'd done like Zangief could do his spinning pile driver virtually anywhere on the screen, and you could beat the entire game just by doing the input, and he would grab the character from anywhere. And then when we got to the hyper fighting, the modded version of this, you could do multiple fireballs on the screen. If you used the light version, they were very slow. They would travel across the screen, and they were like homing missiles. If you jumped up in the air, they would actually follow you. You could get 5 or 6 of them on the screen without crashing it, and they would follow you all over the place. Same with Guile Sonic Booms. If you did a medium one, it would go faster. If you did the fast one, you could have about 4 or 5 light versions of fireballs slowly traveling across the screen, homing on you. Then do a fierce one, and it would lightning fast flash dog go all the way across the screen ahead of them and smash into the character. And if you timed it right, you could just sit there doing fireballs with Ryuken or Guile Sonic Booms and beat the entire game just using those, because as they travel along, they'll either hit you or do block damage, and you're doing so much damage you just wipe out their whole life bar. And it was quite a bizarre game. There was also air moves where you could jump up into the air. You could jump up into the air with Ryu and throw out a fireball, and then you could jump again, kind of cheat the animation, do another one, and eventually go all the way up the screen, off the top, and start coming up the bottom of the screen. So it was a pretty loopy, bizarre hack.
yeah, it's
It was very
some of the
popular too.
videos. Oh, very popular. Just for the sheer madness of it, I would recommend to anybody who, if you're familiar with Street Fighter 2, but you're not familiar with these kind of bootleg versions that Johnny and I are discussing, after you've finished watching this video, get yourselves on to the main YouTube page and actually search out some of the video footage, because what Johnny has just described, you might think he's exaggerating, but he's not. And I've seen these especially with the hacks when it comes to Guile Sonic Boom, you maybe throw out about 10 slow ones to fill up the screen, and they just go across the screen in a wave
Exactly.
and literally just wipe out the opponent. And you can do it with Ryu and Ken, just spam your fireballs across the screen from multiple levels, from multiple heights. And with bootleg games and hack ROMs and stuff, I know some people are just, it's a bit like the repro thing in toys. They don't want to know about them. If it's not the official release, they don't care. But I
Oh,
will
they're
say this,
lousy curmudgeons. Don't listen to them.
yeah, look, you're missing out on a lot of fun. Because really that's what a lot of these hacks are all about, is fun. Like, nobody is saying you're going to be entering like a competitive tournament playing like Street Fighter 2 Rainbow Edition. Like, that's not going to happen. Like,
No,
you're never
that
going to
would be the
be.
worst tournament imaginable.
Yeah, it'd be the worst
I'd still
tournament. Like,
watch
but
it.
like, there's no point getting bent out of shape that everything's overpowered and you can do all these crazy things, because the only reason
I'll chuck
that is
up,
the case.
because you're mentioning that. I'll chuck when this video is uploaded and saved and all that and scheduled. I will chuck it into the description of the video. So I'm looking at right now a long play of someone doing the Rainbow Edition with the crazy moves. So anyone interested, hit the video description and you'll see a link after the fact there to check out a video on YouTube showing all this crazy stuff we're talking about.
It's worth watching, folks, even if you never actually play one of these versions, just to see the
No, you don't have
visual
to. Just
of
seeing it's crazy.
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And like we mentioned though,
There's
with this
impressive
hyper
hackology
fighting, definitely, definitely.
because
And
someone had to solder that bloody extra chip on there to make this thing work and come up with it in the first place.
it's actually, don't mind me as I'm just plugging in my laptop here. It it inspired though official releases as well, because we mentioned there with
Yes, it
hyper
did. It
fighting,
did.
the
Air
speed
moves got added
factor,
in,
yeah,
the
and
speed.
the Hadoukens, that hack for throwing the Hadoukens in the air, they pretty much ended up giving
Yeah,
that to Akuma as just like a standard
yeah, it
fighting
did.
style that you could do all these air fireballs and stuff. Apologies here while I plug
Kuma's
this in.
even X-Men Children of the Atom game secret character.
That is correct. That is correct.
I
But
call him
yeah,
Goki
so
because I played so many Japanese versions. I just call him Goki now.
but yeah, definitely, folks. At some point, if you get the time, check out the footage of the Rainbow Edition hack. It's something to behold. I'll also add as well, while we're looking at these hyper fighting screens, I always when I play this game, because I apart from Ryu, my probably second most played character is Guile, and in this
Yeah,
game, when you pick Guile, the kind of default color is his blue camo, and I
yeah,
always,
the
always,
blue.
always think of the John Claude Van Damme Street Fighter movie every time I play as Guile in this game because of that blue camo. I can't get it out of my mind.
Yeah, I tend to go Ken at most Street Fighter 2 and Champion, and the other guy I didn't really come to till years later because I do like Blanca, I like Zangief, but probably E Honda. I do like playing as E Honda because he's got good tactics when you learn him. He's got good animations, hits, the zoning, what he can do, and his over the top combos. He can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think definitely each of the fighters is so well designed that they almost balance out each other. So if you do have someone who's strong, he's going to be a bit slower, and the guy who's really
Yeah,
fast will be a bit weaker.
unless
But
you barrel roll, he's super
overall,
fast,
yeah, he's got it
super
all.
throw.
He's got it all.
Yeah,
That's probably another thing though we should mention when they did finally make those four boss characters playable. They did tone them down
yeah.
considerably
Well,
in
if
terms of
you're
their
choosing them, but if the
power.
CPU is using them, they're going to kick your ass.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. We
Like
can't
Balrog
have
has
a
charging attacks
fair
like
playing
Guile,
field.
but he doesn't have CPU doesn't charge.
Exactly, yeah. The CPU does not have to hold the D-pad for 5 seconds or
No, not for
whatever.
2 seconds. Just does it instantly. So he can do crazy combos that aren't, as a player, that aren't possible. He can do the charging punch over and over again and just knock the hell out of you.
Yeah. Also, there's no the computer also has no pride in itself and no morals, so it will just spam the
No
same moves
morals.
over and over again.
Yeah,
It doesn't care about being cheap.
absolutely not. That's like the order of the day, man. Playing any kind of fighting game is that the tradition is you're going to learn the tricks it does, get better at it, but it's still going to kick your ass. And you're going to learn the tricks to beat the cheap, crazy tactics with your own cheap, crazy tactics until they get you in the next game with some other crazy, over the top boss or sub boss guy who's going to just do crazy combos and fireballs all day and to learn whatever works, man. If it's sitting in the corner going punch, 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 punch until the guy's dead, you do it. You don't care. Whatever works.
Yeah, exactly. Sweep the leg if you have to.
That's it, Daniel Son. Sweep the leg. If fight on boats, we'll be okay. Fight on land, very iffy. Balance is different.
Yeah, it'd be a tricky situation.
Tricky.
I love that Vegas backdrop, and as
Yeah, and
each
they
of the
switched out the colors, which make it more glam in this version.
that's right. I was about to say that, and I think as the versions kind of progress and they release other editions of the game, they always seem to add a little bit more bling to the Vegas stage. Just to, yeah, it really do captures Vegas perfectly. I just love the kind of they could possibly be pimps, but let's just call them
Players, man, they're
civilians.
players.
Yeah, yeah. I just love that classic. My arm will go up and down. This is the only thing my sprite
Yeah,
will do.
they lay it out for you to play it out.
Go
That's what they
fight.
do, professionally. I like the old timey
Yeah,
car that,
beautiful.
like the 30s kind of car they have on the side. I mean, did someone drive that there, or was it display?
It's such a a Japanese interpretation of what Las Vegas is. It's like everything, just cram it in.
I love it. It's one of the best
Vegas
backgrounds by
stage, though,
far.
of
And
course. Oh,
the
it's
Vegas
great
background's
background.
awesome too.
You're pretty cool. You're pretty cool. You got a lot going on there, and of course, a nice little mechanic. Maybe not so nice if you're fighting against him, but still
Yeah.
a
Light
very
Dragon
interesting
Punch,
mechanic.
people. Light Dragon Punch. That's a pro tip.
Being able to climb the cage or spring off the cage
Yeah.
as Vega, that's scenery interaction that you just up until that point, I'm guessing you wouldn't
Like a
have
spider.
come across. Yeah, it's very interesting dynamic. This you've got this
They have
one
to have faked it
character in
too,
the
because
game.
it's just a sprite thing in the parallax second or third tier background. So they would have had to fake it. And I was assuming the
Yes,
programming stage, he'd just be climbing on nothing.
of course. You had that advantage if you were playing as Vega on that stage, which it's just interesting that they had this character that had a very stage specific
Oh, it was awesome. I
speciality.
loved it. And you'd have to get the timing, because if you Ryu a Ken and he crawls one way, then the other, and then he goes, whoa, does the sound comes in. If you do the first Dragon Punch, he's going to suplex you all day. If you do the light Dragon Punch and time it just right, you'll smack him out of it. With other characters, you could do E Honda light headbutt. That'll work. It's got an invincible frame of animation in the first frame or two. With other characters, very difficult. It's very difficult. Don't ask me what to do.
Yeah, you gotta know those frame rates
Just
and
pray.
and
Just
hit
pray to Buddha
ratios.
and hope for the best.
Yeah, they just like we were saying, like each stage is just so memorable. Like I don't think
Yeah.
there's any, and look, I suppose I'm looking at it through the lens of nostalgia as well, but I don't think there's any stage in this game that's like where I'd say, oh, I don't really enjoy playing in that area or whatever. They're all just really enjoyable, memorable,
Yeah.
colorful locations.
Yeah, I love that old Sagat stage. You got the big lying down Buddha in the background. It's very colourful in the middle of the day. He's doing his big Thai knees and elbows. And man, I love Sagat. Like it's tricky to pick a favorite Street Fighter. You got the characters you want to play as in the game that you get decent with. Like Ken's like good for beginners because he's kind of overpowered and easier to play as. Ryu's a bit more finesse. If you want to try playing the hardest difficulty with Zangief, man, I mean, there's long plays out there, and I remember used to seeing a guy who played hyper fighting when it was cranked up on the high difficulty. I'd seen it when they'd booted up the screen from the guy who did all the coins who worked there, turned up the difficulty all the way. And there was a dude, man, who could come in with Zangief and just pile drivers all day. They did something to the animation frames where you could hit the game, the CPU, and actually win. And it seems impossible. I couldn't do it. I would be getting beaten on the first character. I didn't really come to be a Zangief enjoyer until the Street Fighter Zero series and Street Fighter EX, where it's more forgiving to choose them, and you can get more moves and combos in. So I tend to be Ken or a Honda guy. Like I'm never fond of charging characters. I always like to be able to instant move fireball Dragon Punch style. So later games I like Goki. He's kind of like the new Ken. You can kind of cheese and do stuff with him. Got the air fireball, has that like unblockable super, and just a kind of badass. I do like the old Dragon Punch fireball characters in just about every game out there, whether it's Art of Fighting or Street Fighter or what it or Samurai Showdown with Maru or any of those guys. But I do like Sagat, man. Like I actually used to play on my Mega Drive Street Fighter 2 Turbo, slash hyper fighting because they're the air moves. I got played it over a couple of years, and I could play it on the highest difficulty with Sagat and actually beat the game. And I could beat it with him and not really anyone else because he had the high-low tiger shot, or
Yes.
his projectile, and his hits were
My
great. His hits were like E13 would reach across the screen.
Oh, he's brilliant reach. His kicks are unbelievable. My strategy
His
with
zoning.
Sagat was always keep on spamming the high low
Yeah.
tiger, but then also the
If they
guy
try and
will
jump at
always
you, that high
instinctively
kick man would
they'll try and
reach
jump, and then
2/3 of the screen.
exactly you just take them out of it. And
So I
it's a
loved it.
cheap
I
tactic,
loved him
but
in
we have to do it.
Hyper Turbo and in the Alpha Zero series. He's also really good in that.
Yes, and he's like all the alpha characters, he's beautifully animated
Yeah,
to look
he's
very
gorgeous,
similar.
man. He's gorgeous.
I love it. I love it. I'm actually really looking forward to when we do get into the our chat with Badger, when we're kind of going through some of these
Yeah,
other iterations of the characters. Even though it still should be said, this as much as they kind of refined the designs and improved on a lot of these kind of character art and designs, this the versions we're seeing here in these initial Street Fighter 2 releases, they have pretty much kept to that appearance more or less throughout the series. Like, this game was so
yeah, they
iconic.
have. Right up to Street
Anytime they
Fighter 4.
change anything, oh yeah, yeah, and part of the reason, sometimes little things can just really annoy fans, and if something's broke, there's no point in fixing it. And I think for the most part, the character designs for these initial releases, they were pretty spot on. They were pretty perfect. You don't really need to do anything more with them apart from tweak them here and there just to modify them
Yeah.
for 3D technology and the like. But as far as 2D sprites go, these have to be surely one of the most, or some of the most iconic ones ever designed for a video
Oh, for
game.
sure. The planets, like the archetypes and the colors of the different countries. You're traveling around the world on Bison's old credit card from the drug money. But they're amazing games. And like, I love the art style and look and animations of, I want to say, the Turbo Hyper Fighting is my favorite era. We're going to move on now and talk about the new challenges, or Super Street Fighter, which is Mark's favorite sort of in the series. There's some cool innovations. But my favorite for the art, the style, the animations, and the moveset is the Turbo Hyper era, along with or in parallel with Street Fighter 03. That's my other favorite in the series. Street Fighter 4 is awesome. I've never played Street Fighter 5 because I was out of fighting games and I just don't give a fuck because I've got no one to play with these days. I'm a arcade person or sitting on the couch next to one person. I don't want to play online with random strangers and internet lag. Don't care. Fuck off. Not interested. I did go for a number of years and play like Virtua Fighter 4, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and Street Fighter 4, plus the first updates I did on that, to an in-person club event thing where we used to bring our own PlayStations and Xbox 360s and TVs and arcade style controllers. And I drove 2 hours across my bloody state. And I went there for about a year or so and got to play with other guys. And that was good fun. They all beat the hell out of me because I hadn't played fighting games in years and hadn't been my other mates for years. But just the social aspect of getting to be, it was like a kind of emulation of the old arcade scene. It was all hardcore fighting game guys that got together just to play fighting games. And we'd sat there and would play for 12 hours straight. And then I'd have to drive 2/3 hours home on the highway in the dark. And it got to the point where I was falling asleep while driving, and I went, I think I'm going to stop going because I nearly driven off the road a few times going there. And it's just not worth it.
Yeah, not worth the risk. As enjoyable an experience as it was when you were there,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure probably not
I
worth the
miss the
risk
days
to
of Mega
life.
Drive SNES arcade with me mates in person that lived in the neighborhood. We'd just play all fucking day and all weekend, and sometimes on weeknights if I could ride me a little treadly push bike over there on a Thursday night, fish and chips for dinner, or playing fucking Street Fighter, and then he's got Tekken on PlayStation. But anyhow, what do we got up next?
the new challengers. So
Who are they?
yeah,
Bunch of weirdos, no doubt.
bunch of weirdos. It's Feilong, Kami, T-Hawk, and DJ.
DJ, man.
Now
DJ. He's got those dreadlocks.
I just this was kind of one of those things where what's old is new again, because just as I thought I was kind of coming to the end of my, I suppose, my run with Street Fighter 2. I mean, I'd had my copy of Champion Edition, and then I was playing Hyper Fighting Down in my friend's house a lot. But there were other games around. We were starting to our interests were starting to wane just a little bit, until one week my mate pulled round with a cartridge of this game with the new challengers, and I'm like, what? Four new playable characters? It just blew my mind. It blew my mind
Mark,
completely.
did this distract you, Mark, from girls and stealing go-karts and legally driving them on the highway off the cart and cigarettes and other things of that era?
Very briefly did distract me from those
Very briefly.
endeavors.
Told
Very
you that.
briefly. Very briefly.
You
But
regressed.
oh yeah, oh big time, big time. But I just yeah, I just love the idea of just having these four brand new characters being interjected into the game, and they literally were four brand new characters, because unlike
Yeah. Brand
before,
new
when they just made it
animations and everything.
everything, because previously,
And
when
very
we mentioned,
different art style, fighting styles rather, as well as art styles.
yes, they bring so much new to the table. And it's not like, we were looking at these guys as, say, unplayable boss characters. Like, they're completely new
No,
to us. We haven't seen them
they were
before.
up front and in your face.
And with new characters comes new stages, and also new
Yes.
stage theme
The
music.
stages were
And
fantastic.
brilliant, brilliant. The music for Kami, DJ, T-Hawk, and Fei Long's music stage, like, it's phenomenal. A phenomenal piece of music. It just brings so much. Like, it sounds like such, once again, if you're looking at this through modern eyes, it seems like such a trivial thing. Oh wow, four new characters, so I could just download four characters these days on whatever
I can
fighting
play
game.
a
But
Mugen with 50 characters.
yeah, it's but it was a massive deal. It was almost like just this fresh coat of paint. And apart from the four new guys, you could see, even as a kid, I began to notice, oh, wait a minute, the colors are a lot brighter than they were in the last game, and I can see
Yeah.
things a
And you've
lot
got about
clearer. It's like they
eight
were,
palette swaps for each character.
that's right, that's right. All of a sudden, it's just taking, at least in my opinion anyway, it's taking what came before it and just adding to it and improving
The
upon it.
steroids, man.
Oh man, yeah, they must have had a good doctor to prescribe them that stuff.
Oh yeah, they were just jabbing it in the butt cheeks all day long for to get to this game guy. You had, I think, I want to say it's around 8 pellet swaps for each character. You had 6 buttons. One button each was a color. There was a press and hold. There was also press the start/crit button was another color. That was almost like a secret feature. And then on the console too, you'd have to press a button or hold another button. But so many extra colors and palette swaps were just a really cool feature that it carried on into kind of every version that came since, and leads up to, well, today now you're paying for goddamn DLC costumes and extra palette swaps and colors. This was there in the game. You weren't paying, you put a credit in the game or you bought the cartridge for your home console. You weren't paying extra money for a fucking costume, man. That is one of the ultimate scams of today. I mean, I get it. They've got to make money. They do seasons and season pass with modern Street Fighters and Assassin's Creed and other, but it was garbage. It's garbage. I hate it. I fucking hate it. Give me a game. I don't care if a game comes out now. I will ignore it for 2 years. Give me it on a fucking disc with the stuff that's actually I want on it, like a Mortal Kombat XL. Otherwise, I will completely ignore it and I don't care. This was a standard feature of this era to give us all this amazing character roster. And Well, it might seem small compared to a Street Fighter 03 or other later games like Street Fighter 4. I mean, Street Fighter 3 had a pared down roster, whereas 03 or Alpha 3 had like something like 30 or 32 characters, like crazy amount of characters. But a good number of those are kind of palette swap styles or moveset swaps a la Sub-Zero and Scorpion and Reptile, Mortal Kombat Ninjas. They're not truly independent characters. Whereas here, you got 4 new characters: T-Hawk, DJ, Cammy, Fei Long, with entirely different movesets, entirely different animations and costumes. There's no palette swapping going on here. There's no Ryu Ken shenanigans. They're very unique characters and making it a whole other game that you really want to just get re-engaged with all over again. For some people, might have played the series all the way through. Other folks might have played some of the early arcade games and come back to it. This was a big deal, man. This was very popular in the arcades. It was around for a long time. I want to say 5 or 10 years this game was still around. And strangely, it was eclipsed by its predecessors, by World Warrior and Champion, would be the legacy games that would turn up years later, like Daytona style and airports and movie cinemas. This game would kind of get forgotten about the innovations, and people would go back to the nostalgia of the earlier games, which is a strange thing because the whole cycle repeated itself when we got to the digital era of PlayStation, Xbox Network, and redrawing sprites and digital versions of this game.
Yeah, because I'm sure a cynic would probably say, "Oh, they're just cashing in on what they've already done. They're just re-releasing and re-releasing a
Mm.
slightly tweaked game." But you have to
They put
understand
so much
back
effort into this
then,
game. Man.
oh, big time, and it didn't feel like I was being or we were being ripped off or anything. Like we
Well, there's a
welcomed
long
these
timeline
additions.
and gaps between releases. It wasn't year to year; it was several years apart. So it felt like an entirely new game, even if it's reusing sprite assets.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I think unfortunately for Capcom, from from what I understand, and I'm of a similar kind of era of gaming with you, Johnny. I kind of cashed out around Street Fighter 4. I didn't progress as far
Yeah,
as 5, but from what I
I never
have been
played five.
hearing, they have tried with 5 to kind of emulate the Street Fighter 2 model of trying to release like multiple editions of the game with improvements and
Stupid.
extras. But it's going down like a lead balloon from what I understand, and people are
Yeah,
just kind of pissed off because
I hate the
we
landscape of
do.
modern gaming for fighting games as dog shit, man. Outside of the competition scene, it's geared to that. For casual fans, it's dog shit. It's fucking horrible. Give me
It's
Ultra,
not
which is
cool.
another version of this of the HD redraw and sprite version on Switch. Give me that, and I just don't care. I do not pay attention to modern shit like King of Fighters and other games I've followed for 20 years of my life. I completely ignore every modern release, not because I'm some cynical bastard, but because a lot of them are fucking dog shit. Not the game, but the release model of, well, now it's a DLC and you get a costume and you pay money for a fucking costume. And if you're a hardcore gamer who's playing on the competition scene, you're spending all that money on machines. Your machine's going to fucking die because you've played it so much and overheated it in the summer fucking heat in Perth and killed several machines just to even play this game because you're so goddamn dedicated. Or you're playing in tournaments, good on you. That's fine. That's a whole other scene, whole other level of dedication up there with Quake competitions and Doom and whatnot and esports. It's a whole other fucking arena that's nothing to do with me. I like sitting on the couch and playing with a mate on the weekend and just enjoying fucking Street Fighter.
Yeah, and not having to worry about laggy connections and
Yeah, laggy
dodging stuff
connections
going
and
on.
bullshit and just give me something that fucking works. Give me Doom 2 on DOS and I'm there.
Yeah.
Just invite me over.
Just give me a finished game that I can pick up and play
Exactly, a finished
without,
fucking game.
and not something I need to turn on the first day I buy it
You
and
need a
leave
patch.
sitting for a
You
couple
need a
of
patch. You
hours
need a
while.
patch, mate. Put
Yeah,
it on your shoulder. You need a patch. I've got my Ryu patch here. I've got my Ken patch here. The drug's slowly going into me. It's going to take 2 days for this patch to get into me. And by Monday, I might be able to do a super combo, but probably not because it's going to fail and fucking do it all over again.
Yeah, if you have to download patches on day one, then they
No,
really.
fail,
If you can't
fail.
if you can't release a game that's properly finished on time, because especially like we touched on this a few times now, with both the Mortal Kombat, Streets of Rage, and now Street Fighter. These were teams of people, small teams of people who were working
Yeah, small
constantly
teams,
to get stuff done
dedicated,
on
passionate
time.
fucking teams.
And oh man, and they were going to hit those deadlines. Like you're not going to find anybody. And look, I'm not criticizing anybody's work ethic or anything, but you're not going to find fucking anybody probably in Namco or Capcom or Infinity Ward today who's sleeping under their desk for like half an hour
No,
just to get a
no
brief
way.
rest so they can go back to work and
They want
get
that
the
extra
game
frame
finished
animation
on
in
time.
there. No, forget it.
Yeah. Could you imagine like the PR disaster would have been if these games were released back in the day unfinished and you had to buy a set, like buy, like I don't even know how
Imagine
you
Sagat
couldn't
didn't
put it.
even have a head, and his
Yeah,
fireball
yeah.
disappears halfway across the screen, and then the game crashes before you even get to the bosses. That's like modern gaming. It's just bullshit.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is it should be unacceptable to release an unfinished product
It
and
should
expect
be.
people to
It's
pay
very
full price.
PC in the 90s where you could get away with doing an unfinished game or an update because that was kind of normal in a PC environment. But even the legacy of that is not half the fucking body horror that is modern gaming with a PC style of let's release an unfinished game and update and patch it to hell has become the standard for just about everything on console these days. It's killed a lot of games for me where I just don't give a fuck. I'm more interested in playing, give me a new rehashed Mario game on Switch versus what's on PlayStation. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it was what finally burned me with a lot of these kind of updates and DLCs. I think, funnily enough, it's a Capcom game. It was Resident Evil 5, and they released these like other scenario DLC or whatever. You had to pay, I think it was like 20 something bucks at the time to get it downloaded and added to your actual physical copy of the
Yeah.
game. And I remember, so I paid the money and I did the download, and the download only took about 30 seconds. And I was like, what the fuck? What have I just downloaded? All I had downloaded was the permission to play something that was already in the game. Like all the DLC was
Oh, what?
already on the fucking game. And it was just like, and that to me in a nutshell kind of described the
Get your
modern
game
gaming
genie out,
landscape.
man.
Oh yeah, it's just you're paying for stuff that should already be there and that you should be able to play,
Yeah,
and now you're just
I can't
paying
stand that
paying
shit.
for a key code. Oh, it's so botched. It's so botched. But look,
It's gone the
we're
other
not
way
talking
now.
about
And like
modern games.
it used to be stuff was on the disc and they'd lock it. Now it's the other way around. If you want to pick up some of the modern Sonic games doing the retro style, it's missing half the shit, and you get a game with some basic shit, and then you get a download code to go on. Like, well, why am I paying for the disc version when it's just giving me a code for the download version? Or why am I buying a fucking empty plastic cover with nothing in it if you don't read your eBay description? There's just a digital code to download the digital version. It's a mockery of gaming. Like I feel like some old cynical bastard like a Jim Cornette go, these motherfuckers have fucked us with this stuff. We should get back to
Well,
the Street Fighter for derail this.
well, look, you see, you're not wrong. That's the thing. Like that's the thing. Like, and ultimately, you've only got a finite amount of money to spend and time
Yeah,
to spend on these things. You don't want to just be
$50. That's my
constantly
maximum for
rinsed.
a video game.
Yeah, yeah, that's plenty. That's plenty. But look, I suppose going back to the more positive side of things, look at these
Yeah,
beautifully colored stages and sprites here for this version.
and the
It's
little
just
character versus screens and beat 'em up screens, man. Those profiles they redrew, that they're beautiful, very anime, little grimacing expressions on the blood, and oh, I love them.
brilliant,
And Ryu,
brilliant.
man,
And I love
check out that fringe, those anime eyebrows, and that nose are just over the top.
yeah, a lot of the characters look quite similar in this, the way they're drawn to how they will actually appear in the 1994 Street Fighter animated movie.
And the
They have
anime,
that
yeah,
manga. really nice manga inspired designs here. I love as well that they've just once again they've gone for the little extra things that make things memorable. Like in Fei Long's stage, when you went around, all the dragons in the background rise
Yeah,
up
the
and start
dragons and the
roaring and
mythological
stuff.
animals are like.
It's really
I
cool.
love that.
It's really cool, and they made so much effort. And you got the T-Hawk village kami. You're supposed to be like in England, and it's like the aurora borealis and stuff. It's just a
Yeah.
really they
Oh, it
really
is
went
too,
all
isn't
out.
it? I forget that it's a
Yeah,
borealis. Like back then, I'm like, why is there weird rainbows? I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
but it's they just went once again. They went all out for these new stages to make them memorable. The music is seamless. It really goes well with what came before it. It doesn't feel like you're kind of getting something just tacked on. It almost feels like these characters and stages were always part of the game in like a good way. Like they're a real natural fit for what's there already, and they just enhance the experience.
Absolutely. Um, and I'm going to do a little bit of like fucking nerd criticism here. And this is me just being a fucking nerd. It's not in any way reflective of people that love this game, like Mark does. Anyway, anyone who wants to love this game, this is me going my particular thing. So don't take it as an objective criticism. It's a subjective, personal criticism. I really like Street Fighter 2 Turbo and Hyper Fighting for the sounds, the animation, and the overall style of it. When we got to new challenges, it kind of threw me for a loop. It's an objectively fantastic fucking game. It's more well balanced. They brought in like Ken's Flaming Dragon Punch for the first time. We'd see later on in Marvel versus Capcom series. And later revisions, they did Super Street. They had the actual supers in Super Street Fighter and the Turbo. So they brought in the faster speeds and the shadows and the supers, which they got from SNK and Art of Fighting and Fatal Fury, is basically where they swiped that from. Um, Objectively fantastic game, awesome colors, awesome animations, the audio, the backgrounds, fantastic. My one little gripe is for me, and this is just for me, not for anyone else, but the sound. I'm a real audiophile, man. Like certain sounds I absolutely love, and certain sounds drive me out the fucking wall, or just leave the fucking house. I just give me a headache. Um, they re-recorded all of the dialogue in this game. You think, what are you talking about dialogue? Not the win poses. Where they're like, sure you can, that's all I shouldn't buy you all that, all the Japanese moves of Fei Long, Ken, Ryu, Zangief, Kami, who are yelling out all the moves. They re-recorded all the dialogue stuff for that and the win poses, and the octave or tone of it was kind of like higher pitch. And Street Fighter, it was a kind of mid or deeper. For World Warrior Champion Hyper, it was like sure you can. And then when we got to China, it was like sure you can, like on like the voice actor was on helium or something. The tone was really high. And the announcer was like, round one, fight, round one, go. I'm Carrot Top. I'm telling you the fighting game. And the overall tone of that really fucking bugged me to the point where I'm like, I don't know if I like this game so much just because of the tone of the sounds of it. But objectively, the fighting and combat is fantastic. And I came to enjoy characters like Fei Long. Um, the the four new characters, DJ thought was cool for the style and look of him. He's unique, Jamaican guy, dreads and all that, pants with Maxim on. Fei Long I didn't really enjoy until probably Street Fighter 4, and I got to like play some a fair bit in that at home on the old X360. And I went back and played him in this. And if you're playing on a D-pad, it's very hard to do his reverse dragon punch, flaming kick move, or his three punch combo move, his three quarter circles forward. Hard to do on a D-pad cross controller. But if you've got a nice arcade stick at home or an actual arcade machine, he is like Liquid Silk, man. His moves just flow. Bruce Lee style was he's based on. And I got to draw him in Street Fighter 4, as well as the HD remix of this where they redo the sprites and the original version of this. If you're playing on an actual arcade stick, he's like a whole other different character. he plays so much differently. I mean, in arcade is the original version. When I'm playing at home, so I ignored Fei Long for years and really just didn't. I mean, it's a good design, but the controls, I couldn't do his fucking moves. I would just stuff them up every time. But when I got to play him with an arcade stick, I'm like, oh man, he's awesome. I can play him just as well as a Ken or Ryu and actually get his moves to work. So I really like Fei Long now. He's become one of my favorite Street Fighter characters for his awesome animations, like Blanka and Chun-Li. He's got weird hits on crouching and jumping that knock away a lot of other attacks on the game. Good for zoning, good for just like messing with your opponent, and fantastic fucking game. But the audio really bugged me back in the day. It gave me a goddamn headache where it's like round one, fight, Street Fighter, Ken, Ryu. It was a weird tone that just fucked with my head. But I still generally love the game despite that. But my favorite is still probably the game before it because I love the sounds and the way that game goes.
Do you think that they might have deliberately messed with that audio in order to make space for the new stage themes and other stuff? You know, the way sometimes they do that with a course, they try to
Like
maximize space, yeah, and compress things. I wonder did they
sped it
actually
all up.
re-record
That
it?
was part of it. High pitch, and they sped it up. And if you play the HD re-revision version they did on Xbox 360, where it's been called a whole bunch of stupid names, but it's this game with redrawn sprites and slightly balanced. On Switch, it's called Ultra, and then on 360, it was called whatever the fuck it was. But it's the same game, but the audio is more balanced out in that, and it doesn't bug me at all. I'm fine with that version. But I prefer the graphics of the older version, as even though the redrawn HD 2D is absolutely beautiful in the later version they did.
Yeah, I have the HD remix, I think they called it, on the 360.
Yeah, I get confused because they've re-released it a bunch of times, which is fine. Street Fighter should be released all goddamn day so you can have every possible format imaginable available to humanity. But these fucking character like beat 'em ups intros flying to the country, and then when you beat them, these little profiles, man, these are beautiful. These are straight out of fucking manga comics. Look at that Blanker and the snarling teeth and the little eyebrow coming down and the claw coming up, and Ken's got the fist up with the fist guard and the big crazy anime eyebrows going into his fringe. I love these character profile things so much.
Beautiful. It's like 16-bit representations of that animated movie, which I know
Yeah.
I've mentioned it a couple of times
Mention
already.
more, man. We're going to talk about it
I
on
love
another talk.
I love it, man. It's like my second favorite animated movie of all time. So I'll
What's the
leave
other
it at
one? Is
that
it
until we actually.
Transformers? Otherwise, I'll kill you.
Yeah, it's Transformers. Yeah, it's Transformers. The movie is my
Correct.
number one.
He's passed the quiz, folks. Otherwise, that was going to be the fucking dissolution of BOBA
Last
Joe show right
episode.
there, man. If you didn't
Yeah,
say Transformers, where we're going to be fucked.
yeah. If I didn't say Transformers, you would have walked right down to the network executive's office
I
and
would have
said,
gone War
"Get
God
rid of this."
style and just like
Yeah,
spared you on the heart and got, I'll kill you and take your power. Not
cancel
really.
this
No, we're
motherfucker.
fucking
He
around, man.
doesn't like Transformers. Of course, of course.
But yeah, these
Yeah.
profiles, man, and the character. Here's Sagat. Oh, Jesus, man. He's off to the dentist after this match. He's already got that bum eye, and now Ken smashed up his teeth. Like, he's got the scars from Ryu. Ken smashed up his teeth. I'm kind of on Sagat's side, man. I'm the heel guy all day. Like, fuck off, Red Ken. Stop messing with Sagat's day. What's he done to you lately?
Yeah. Poor guy has no depth perception. Leave him alone.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, he's on a 2D plane, not 3D. If you're in 3D, you're fucked if you Sagat. So we've got some more couple images here showing off the stages, the backgrounds, the remixed kind of artwork. We've got old Blanca, we've got E Honda, we've got DJ, we've got Cammy, Sagat, Ken, M Bison. And actually, Cammy's another character like Fei Long. I didn't really give a flying fuck about the character back then. Found it very hard to try and understand her moveset. It's quite unorthodox after playing with other characters. She's a weird mix of like You know, she's got the drill kick and the upper kick, and then that jumping forward punch where it goes through fireballs. Again, Street Fighter 4 was where I actually came to actually appreciate Cammy and go, oh, her moveset, it makes sense. If you get the timing down of it, she's actually a fairly upper tier character if you know what the hell you're doing with her. But I have to admit, most of the time I don't. I'm just staring at her butt cheeks most of the time, to be honest.
They are quite distracting, shall we say.
They're very Australian
But
or UK these days if you've immigrated.
I would say it's also nice that Chung Li got some female company, because she
Yeah.
was the only girl on the street. So it
Yeah,
was
I mean,
nice.
the latest Street Fighter games, you got Junie and Julie and a whole bunch of other weirdos, usually in bizarre spandexy outfits. But no, there's a lot more female characters later on. Capcom was kind of sparing. Mortal Kombat had a lot of female characters. You got the Melina Katana, Jade. SNK had a shitload of female characters. But yeah, they were doing a lot of the TNA in the 90s with any of these ones, which I'm not complaining about. I mean, in the postmodern era, you look back and go, well, I don't know, it's exploitative. It's just playing to the crowds, playing to the audience. I don't have an issue with any of it.
Yeah,
I do
it's
like the
the
SNK did
it was the
quite a fair bit
style.
of female characters in their games.
It's just that, look, it's the style of the time, and it was the way that
Yeah, so
things where I don't have an issue with it myself either.
no, just give me more
And I
female
have to
characters.
say,
That's my issue. Give me more of them.
yes, exactly, exactly. And I think Cammy obviously, though, she was quite iconic. She almost overshadowed the other three characters that were introduced, because
Yeah,
they featured her a lot in promotional material. And I suppose the fact that
and
she
the live
goes from
action
being
movie.
this. Oh, that's what I was about to say. Because in the game, yeah, like she's like a bonus extra character, one of these four new challengers. But in the live action movie, she's front and center along with
That's
John Claude
Charlene,
Van
man, from
Damme.
Neighbours.
Yeah, her and Guile, bringing justice to the Shadow Law organization,
Might be
led
talking
by
about that with
Gomez
Epic
Adams.
Badger. Might talk about that live action movie along with
Oh, we'll have
toys
the
and games.
oh, we're going to jump into all of that stuff when we talk to our boy Badger.
Actually, my missus actually collects Kylie Minogue merchandise, so I have on the list of things to do. She's got a magazine from the 90s that has Jean Claude and Kylie magazine thing article from back then. I've got to scan that this week so we can actually chuck that up on that talk.
Yeah, I look forward to looking at that. I love seeing those type of contemporary kind of pop
I look
pieces
forward
from
to
the
seeing
time.
that rear end all day long.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's a frameable picture, no doubt.
I will tell you that it's an objective fact Kylie Minogue's ass is an Australian national treasure. There's nobody in this country who'll argue with that. The only argument you will get is that she has become more of a UK resident in her later years. But yeah, my missus collects a lot of merchandise from albums, Japanese albums, collections, magazine clippings, and she has seen her in concert a number of times over the last 20 plus years. And there's the old Cammy again on the credits for Super Street Fighter. Before we get to that one, is there anything else you want to say about these slides? Because we're heading into the wind up of our show.
I think maybe just another nice little thing to point out. And to be fair, it wasn't just the new Challengers edition that brought this. Any iteration or
First attack.
re-release that they ever did, they would always tweak the existing stages, even just little things. Like I noticed there, even in the stage there with Sagash, you can kind of see like either the sun, it's like the sunset behind the
Yeah,
Buddha.
and it's like a fake
Um,
like lighting effect where the statue that was kind of porcelain white is now a maroon color because it's a fake sunlight
yes,
coming over it at sunset. Beautiful.
exactly. And it's little things like that that really freshen up, especially like once again, even as a youngster, when you're playing these games day in, day out, your eyes kind of lock on to those little differences straight away, that they've added in something. And I will always appreciate this where they actually did make little tweaks and changes this added to the
Yeah,
atmosphere of the game.
because they gave
And
a shit, man. They were passionate about
because they
actually
gave
making
a
good
shit.
animations, good fighting, good balance, backgrounds. I would like
That's right. Because
DJ's stage in the Caribbean's gorgeous. I always love E Honda's stage with the little guy and the you got the old mountain and the Japanese sun, and then the hot bath, and underneath them he's got the sumo ring. There's so many just like overly cliches the wrong word, but so many traditional Japanese elements going on E Honda's background that I love. There's so many cool things.
yeah, and look, the way I would look at this is instead of like focusing maybe on the fact that because some people might gravitate towards the fact that, oh well, that's just a stereotypical representation of a Jamaican or a Japanese person. The way I would look at this is you have to approach this game from the point of view that we are all stereotypes. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
matter what nationality the characters come from. Like not everybody in America is some like Top Gun jet setting, a spider pilot. Like look, you're going to have these type of caricatures of nationalities, and it's perfectly fine. They're all just
yeah,
exaggerated versions of these kind of stereotypes, and it's okay. Like it's okay to especially within the confines of a 2D fighting game. I wouldn't be getting too bogged down on E Honda being like a stereotypical Japanese person or something. Like at the end of the
I love
day,
E Honda, man, and I genuinely
I
like
love E
sumo
Honda.
wrestling in addition to all types of other wrestling.
I love them all, and it helped teach me some geography this game as well because you were watching the little
It
plane
does.
go
I
to the
think I
different.
think it is unintentionally educational as far as like we're going into caricatures and archetypes for characters and backgrounds and countries, but it is education. We're traveling around the world on M. Bison's drug money dollar for those first class flights. We're getting punched in the face, but we're enjoying it all the way and learning. We're seeing some statues and traditional architecture and buildings and culture along the way.
Yeah, it truly is a world tour.
Yeah, for sure. Not like not like Tekken 2, where you just get this infinite plane of like weird colors and there's not much going on for culture there outside of the actual, characters.
Yeah, no, Street Fighter 2 just immersed you in the world that they created. And like I was saying earlier, everything is just timeless. It's just you can like
It
I could
is, it
close my
is.
eyes. I can think of any of these stages. I can almost have them memorized sprite for sprite. I know every sound, every piece of
Those
music. It
maracas
just
going off in the Vega background.
oh, big time, big time. And yeah, it's cool as well if you're DJ and you wind around and he takes out his little maracas and does his little
Yeah,
dance and shake.
it's good.
Fun
Yeah,
character,
I used to
fun
remember
character.
a mate in school who was obsessed with that DJ. But actually, before I saw new challenges in person, I was in high school and a mate, another John or Jono was going on about it. It's like DJ man, he's got these dreads, he does this thing, and he was just telling about it, like just telling about it at school. That was the first time I ever heard about this game. He's going, oh, this new Street Fighter out, and this guy does this thing, and he was just in love with that character.
No, it's just so awesome, and he's an awesome character.
Yeah, and he's got kind of weird timing on his moves. Like he's got that charging, like goes like rah, rah, with that projectile, and then the double kick, and then the later version update where he had the upper kick as well, like Chun Li. And he's a good, well, he's like Guile, he's like a kind of more defensive zoning character if you're playing well, but he's weird. The first time you play as him, it's quite odd to actually figure out his moveset and how you can actually use him and not just get beaten up.
We've got the kind of what would you use, pseudonyms, gimmick names? How would you describe them? I doubt there's somebody actually called
DJ?
Buffo working on
He's a
developing
hybrid. He's a
DJ.
hybrid character because he's got a projectile like Kyle and Ryu and that, but then you're kind of playing him more. He's kind of like a half and half of defensive, offensive character because got charging moves, so you can't just do his moves instantly. You've got to charge or be defensive, but he has got good combos and that weird uppercut move that does all the hits. So he's a strange character, but like he's definitely good fun to play as.
There they are.
Got the old
What a cast.
characters up. Ryu's happy about it, crossing the old biceps. And Fei Long with his nunchuckers. Blanca with his chest hair.
Oh, it's great. I think I mentioned to you just before we started recording, I actually used to have this as like my main kind of desktop PC background. I just loved this
Nice.
image of all the characters doing their winning poses together. It's a thing of beauty in my
It's
eyes.
awesome. It's funny because I can't tell you what computers they were building or something, but back in the day, you had like fucking Amigas and early IBMs and whatnot. They were building shit on, make arcade games and later home console versions. But just seeing this today, this is just the winning poses. And now, if you want to do this now, you can do this shit in Canva, which is what we made this slideshow on. It's just a matter of going, grab this image, chuck it in, chuck it in, chuck it in. You can do it in like 20 minutes. But it would have taken them hours to get all the stuff onto the screen in one image back then and program it in. It's like my hats off to them, like the limited technology back then to make these beautiful sprites where, you know, if you look at fine details like a mouth or an eyes or eyebrows, that's kind of not great. You're pretty much doing comic book style exaggerated expressions and proportions or rocky hands up in the air. Yeah, we've won. My hats off to them to actually create such iconic, memorable characters within limited animation frames, colors, technology, sound, all that. Now we've got pretty much unlimited shit. If you want to make a video game on a modern console or PC, they can do anything. And do anything like a fucking movie, sound, audio, animation, 3D, 2D, whatever. So to work within this limited technology set is so impressive. And the balancing of it is just like passion and dedication and all day.
Yeah, it's and passion is the key word there, really. I think it's like I was saying, it's a small development team working around the clock to put out the best product they possibly can at the end of it all. And with Street Fighter 2, I should say, unless I know cynics will probably say, oh well look, they were just hungry for money and they just kept
No
re-releasing
way. No way.
recyclable
These
games.
these guys were like hardcore programmers and gamers. They were fucking gamers, not just programmers
Yeah.
that actually gave a shit about making the best fucking thing they could. This wasn't some like Ubisoft work for hire people just in the background doing, well, I'm doing the animation between the thing and the no, these were people that actually gave a shit about what the fuck they were doing, like your best Studio Ghibli or Walt Disney 1930s or 40s era Capcom at their fucking best, doing fantastic animations and characters and uh, amazing gameplay, balanced animations that appealed to hardcore gamers and to a casual audience, which is something that doesn't happen that much these days. There's all these divides and cliques and different people and different media. This was a game that brought people together rather than apart. People fucking love this game. Whether you were good at it or terrible at it or just watched your brother or sister playing it, people came together and really enjoyed the fuck out of this game from amazing, wonderful, talented people that put all their efforts into it.
Yeah, there's no better way to bring people together than to have 2D sprites do battle in front of
Yes,
them on
2D
screen.
around the world tour.
If this game had been more widely available in every household, we would have had world peace by now.
I agree, 100%. The only way I can possibly follow it up is we're going to finish the show with a little Mick Zangief. It can make my day, man. Make my day all day long.
Yeah, been a good time, Johnny. I've enjoyed chatting Street
Hell of a
Fighter
time.
2,
It's going to be
and I'm
more
sure
Street
once
Fighter with
we
Badger, and hopefully next week.
yeah, yeah. Well, once we nail down the time and get the three of us
Street
together,
Fighter 2.
Street Fighter Alpha 2.
Street Fighter Alpha. You got it. You got the knots and sleeves. We're on the wavelengths, man.
Yeah, we're connected via 4D.
NFT.
All the buzzwords and acronyms.
Yes. Buzzwords, acronyms. Expect more of that. Come back next week. We'll have some DLC for you. It won't work in the first week. It'll take you up to 4 weeks before it'll work. We'll send you out some buggy code and then we'll refund a voucher for you. And in the meantime, just go for a fucking walk and forget video games, because modern shit doesn't work half the fucking time anyway. I have to go out of the goddamn house and just turn the machine on, let it update. Then it does the fucking install and some other bullshit. And well, I can go at the back and dig out my Sega Mega Drive and play some fucking Street Fighter and finish it before it even updates the bullshit of the new game I just bought.
Guarantee you, folks, that whenever you choose to watch this video, you'll never have to do an update on this video. This is the best possible version of this video that we're putting out to you right now. No updates required.
Whatsoever. No. Okay, we'll finish up there, man. I'm going to play a little musical interlude. So catch you next time, people.
See you, folks.